up though a little bit quicker. Okay. In this example, guys, if you're going to find the zeros, do you guys see that there's only two zeros here? This one's pretty simple, right? -1, 2. That's it. -1 and 2. However, we need to take a note of a couple things. Notice how the zeros cross with the x-axis. Here, the real zeros, this crosses at -1. So it crosses. So therefore, we know this one has an odd multiplicity. However, at 2, do you guys see, does it cross or does it bounce? It bounces. So therefore, this has an even multiplicity. Do you see the difference? I didn't have any even multiplicities over there. Provided one here. That's why I changed that answer, so you guys can see what even multiplicity looks like. All right, let's write the factored form. Well, the factored form is just going to be basically those two factors. X plus 1 times x minus 2. But we have an issue, right? We kind of have a problem. Because x minus 1 times x minus 2 is going to give you a polynomial of what degree? 2, right? Guys, does this have a degree of 2? No. Does it look like a quadratic, first of all? No. So guess what? There's more than just 2 zeros. Would everybody agree with me? How many zeros then does this graph have? So we have to go ahead and count. I'm sorry. There's more solutions than just the 2 zeros. So I'm going to skip ahead to number 3 here real quick, because we know that the degree is not 2. So the other way I said you could find the degree is count the number of turning points and add 1 to that. Correct? OK. How many turning points does this have? 1, 2, 3, 4. If it has 4 turning points, that means that the degree is what? 5. OK? Now, if the graph rises left, falls right, is the leading coefficient positive or negative? This just comes into knowing your end behavior or your end behavior. Does anybody know off the top of their head? Or do you guys always have to keep on looking back at your notes? You might want to make sure you guys have your end behavior memorized. It's going to be negative. OK. Now, leading coefficient is negative. We don't really know what the value is of the leading coefficient, and that's not what I'm asking anyways. So does this times this give you a degree of 5? No, it gives you a degree of 2, right? However, we know that at 2, that has an even multiplicity, correct? So there's actually a couple different ways you guys could do this. And I'm not, if you guys were given a test, you would either have like a multiple choice where you get to decide, because there's really not one correct answer. And it kind of depends on the graph that I chose. But let's see if this works. Would this make sense for it to be my polynomial factored? Is this still even? Yes. Is that still odd? Yes. But remember, they add to 5, right, which gives you your degree. Does that make sense? Or here's another possibility. 2 and 3, right? So if that was on your test, that would be the answer you'd want to select. The main important thing that you understand about x equals x minus 2 is that 0 has to have an even multiplicity. Correct? It has to have an even multiplicity. So the multiplicity either is 2 or 4. Well, I'm not trying to make you guys decide which one's right, which one's wrong. I just want you to know those are some examples that it could be. All right? And let's just leave that in there with that. Now let's go and look at the relative min, relative max. First of all, is there any absolute maximum? Nope. Is there any absolute minimum? No. Let's look at relative maximums. The relative max is going to be -2 and 4, and actually 2, 0. Those are both maximum values between a given set of values. So anytime you have a turning point that kind of gives you a maximum value, that's called a relative max. So you have 2 relative maximums. Relative max is going to be -2, 4, and 2, 0. So anytime you have anytime you have an interval where there's a maximum point, that's called a relative max. And then the relative min is going to be my one low point here, which is 0, -2. There is no absolute because the graph goes down to infinity and rises up to infinity. Yes? Oh, I missed that. -4, 1. That's right. Thank you. I totally missed that. You've had a bad day.